When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Donnie and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Take my hat off.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Donnie.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Donnie, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. All right, all right, all right. We here. Monday morning. Let's get it cranking. Okay, so BeMoreNews.com. We've been around since 2002. We cover Black business, public education, returning citizens. And that's a no-brainer because while China has 1.4 billion people and America has about 400 million or so, we have almost as many inmates as China. Number 4, affordable housing. And number 5, universal access to healthcare. China, we have as many inmates as China, and half of them are Black. I forgot to add that part. So with Black business being so important to us, anything, and I do mean anything, in the realm of minority business enterprise, MBE, anything in the realm and the stadium of that falls on our beat. Now, every year, see, this is what, we're going into April, and just over a month, the Maryland-Washington Minority Companies Association will host their annual breakfast. Now, I'm not sure if anyone has qualified it, but to my knowledge, it is the largest minority business event in the state. It's out in Martins West. Pat and Wayne Frazier and their team put it together. And any politician, especially in an election year, a statewide election year, let me qualify that, will be there. Comptroller, governor, lieutenant governor, congresspeople, U.S. senators, CEOs, as well as a host of business people in many industries relating to construction, utilities, contracts, most anything in the realm of building. These people will be there. And so to discuss this all-important event, at least from a BeMoreNews.com perspective, we have the president, the CEO, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Wayne Frazier. Looking pretty snappy there, Mr. Frazier.
I'm celebrating my 20th year in business as you in 2002. This year, we are celebrating our 20th year in business. My wife, Patricia, and I. And we owe it all to one person, though.
Arnold Jolivet.
You know it. Mr. Arnold Jolivet, when I was leaving banking and didn't know what to do, he said, "Hey, Wayne, why don't you consider, since you bank so many at Harbor Bank, you bank so many black people, why don't you consider coming out and advocating for them?" I said, "Man, I ain't interested in that. Ain't no money in that." And he was right. Wasn't no money for me, but others have made millions. And I'm proud of that. That's my commitment to life, Donnie.
You didn't make millions?
Nah, homeboy, I'm still living in Baltimore City, like you.
You couldn't live in Baltimore City with all of them millions.
Nah, you'd be a target. You know it.
So where would you move?
Probably to the most progressive county in this region would be Howard County. Feel safe there.
Now I'm a little green. What do you mean progressive? I hear this word tossed around by politicians. This is a liberal, this is a progressive, this is a conservative. All I want to know is, do they like black people?
I think they do. They elected a black county executive for the first time. And he's doing his best to provide inclusion to the utmost. I'm pretty pleased with what, I think his name is Calvin Ball, what he's been doing down there. But it's an opportunity. It's an area, it's an enclave where other African Americans reside and feel comfortable in their surroundings as well as their wealth. And I imagine they don't feel threatened. And I'm comfortable with that.
Upwardly mobile African Americans.
There you go.
So Howard County is it the richest, or is Montgomery the richest county in Maryland? Battle back and forth. They're both at the top.
Yes, indeed. And they both owe that to the largest of Washington, D.C., which is the epic center for business, for power in the world. And it extends clearly up to Baltimore. And by the way, Washington, D.C. will ultimately be Baltimore's salvation. Once all of these new developments are finished down at Baltimore Peninsula and at Harbor Point, folks who cannot afford to live in D.C. will find their way to Baltimore for urban life.
So, Mr. Frazier, I've written a couple of books out here, and I've been told that I don't talk about them enough. So I want to share something with you from the book, Unapologetically Black. Now, in this book, I go into the political economy of black people in Maryland. Political economy, the interrelationship of politics and economics. Take a listen, just a brief snippet. I can honestly say it hasn't been easy to stay in business in the past 12 years. And given my propensity for politics, I'm well aware being on the losing side of an election can be devastating. However, it can be done and with class. Before I go on, let me first say being in business is an education all by itself, and I certainly don't claim to be an expert on the topic. I'm just out here trying to make sense of things like everybody else. And here's the hit. I try to stay close to those who have successfully conducted business longer than me, people like you, to pick their brains and learn their secrets so I can apply them to my own business model. After all, what better way to grow a successful business than to learn from those who have done just that?
That's right.
What do you think, Mr. Frazier? You agree?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Who'd you rub elbows with? Well, let's start with Jolivet. What was it about Jolivet that drew you close to him?
The fact that he was fearless. He was not afraid to take on any politician,
Anybody.
any CEO, right? Anyone.
He should get a T-shirt say Arnold Jolly versus all y'all.
If you recall, he changed single-handedly. I think it was 1998, I believe it was. The University of Maryland medical system was upset because he challenged the system for having private board meetings. And Arnold sued them and won. And as a result, University of Maryland and any public private institution that receives funds from the state of Maryland in the form of grants, subsidies, or contracts, or if they have any of their board members appointed by the governor, then they are subject to open meetings. That's huge. Because
now who's included that wouldn't be?
Well,
University of Maryland Medical System.
You would have Maryland Stadium Authority. You would have Johns Hopkins because they receive subsidies. Those are the two of the largest that I could think of off the top of my head.
University of Maryland?
University of Maryland, College Park, yes.
I mean, medical system.
Medical system, yes. That's the big one. Yes. Yes.
This one man, this one black man.
Yes.
Who was a lawyer, went after University of Maryland medical system. And my understanding is he said, even if you put a helicopter pad down here, we want a piece of that too.
That's right. But check this out. He was so feared that the University of Maryland medical systems hired the best criminal lawyer at that time in town, Billy Murphy, to defend them. Now think about that. Prior to that, they probably hired no black attorney. But Arnold, he forced them to dig in their pockets and hire Billy Murphy. And at that time, Billy Murphy was charging $1,000 an hour. So that whole inclusion just expanded.
Yeah, but $1,000 an hour is nothing compared to the money that University of Maryland medical system was making hand over fist, having access to state dollars and not having anything for black people.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay, now let's back up a bit.
But they changed, Donnie. They changed. Dr. Sumter has changed it all when he came in a couple of years ago. He's changed it all. They are so inclusive.
I want to go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
China has 1.4 billion people. Africa has about 1 billion people. And everybody knows that humanity started in Africa. Africa has the oldest DNA on Earth. Every human being on Earth can trace their lineage back to Africa, Southern Africa, Namibia to be exact. The San Bushmen. That just think of Nelson Mandela. Remember he had those tight eyes? It's a reminder that black people don't have Chinese eyes. Chinese have black people's eyes. It's where all humanity started. Why is it I have to refer to myself in 2023 as a minority?
Well, Donnie, unfortunately, in the United States of America, we are. Population-wise, we are. And as much as I don't like that, the fact is we are. So we have to accept it, and do the best we can.
So I'm a minority because I'm not white.
That's correct.
So why are white women in this minority pool?
Well, back in 2000, Donnie, what happened here in the state of Maryland, which is, I would say, the epicenter for women and minority business inclusion. At that time, we had, I believe his name was Delegate from the East Side, Ponytail. I can't think of his name right now.
Thomas Branch.
Yes. Talmadge Branch was chair of the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus. And he had a very tough decision to make. At that point, there were lawsuits that were coming in that were to dismantle the entire MBE program. And in order to save the program, he agreed to allow women, principally white women, to become part of state of Maryland's MBE program. Now, white women were always a part of what's known as the Disadvantaged Business Program, the DBE program, that is originated and sanctioned by the federal government through, I believe, the Transportation Department. But here in Maryland, we stood a chance of losing it because we had not included white women. And his decision, which I agree with, in order to save the program, he allowed white women to be a part of it.
Okay, so out of 100% of the contracts, what percentage do black people get?
I would say in state of Maryland, probably around 15%.
Get out of here. I thought it was more like 7%.
No, we're talking about overall spending in the program. Last year, I think it was 1.6 billion. And out of that, women got around 900 million. And African Americans got about 100 million.
Well, we 30% of the state. We should be getting 30% of the contracts, at least.
I agree.
It's sounds like we're getting a fraction of that.
Another evil that came about was the sub goals here in the state of Maryland. And that happened during the O'Malley administration when, and I don't know the origin of it, but I know it occurred during the O'Malley administration where placing goals on contracts, it used to be just MBE. And MBE is made up of Asians, Latinos, African Americans, and even folks from Portugal.
Everybody but white males, except Portugal, because they are white. Now, how the hell the Portuguese end up as a minority?
Well, we owe that to Senator Edward Kennedy up in Massachusetts. There's a large population of Portuguese right there off in that fishing colony up there where Jaws, that movie Jaws was made.
Damn that, they're not minorities.
We know that. But with his power, he was able to get them included in the program. And remember, they were part of the slave trade.
Damn right. Christopher Columbus got money from the Portuguese and the Spanish after they kicked the last of the black people out of Spain and Portugal. After being there 800 years.
It's a mess, Donnie, as we know. But white women were allowed, and they now earn the majority percentage of the state contracts.
Well, how is that fair?
It's not.
So why do we play this game?
Well, let's put it this way. It's going to take the strength of our new governor, Mr. Westmore, to consider changing all of that.
It's a damn game. It's a joke.
It has to slow down.
Black people, then maybe we need to just start all over, just like Baltimore City public school system, start all over and rebuild it. Because my understanding, and Boyd Rutherford said it best, nobody hires black people better than black people. Nobody hires more black people than black people. So why do we, this game isn't working.
Well, I would argue that
against us.
I would argue that if you look into the offices of some of the most successful black businesses, those earning multi millions of dollars in revenues, you see very few black folk working there. There's a lot of sharp white guys and white women working there. Now, in the smaller ranks, I'm saying if you are less than, say, 5 million in revenue, you see a number of black folks. But the most successful black businesses tend to hire non-black people.
Okay, so we got our first black governor. This is what he's up against. Before Wes Moore, how have we fared over the past 20 years, say with the last 3 governors? You had Hogan for 8 years, you had Martin for 8 years, and then you had Robert Early for 4 years. A Republican, a Democrat, and another Republican. A well-approved Republican.
Well, Donnie, you just mentioned it. How did we fare? You already gave the statistics. You thought that we had received, what, 7% of the state contracts?
Y'all told me early on 1 to 2%. That's how much we actually get, 1 to 2%, especially in Baltimore City, when we got a black mayor, and regardless of who's the mayor now, I mean, no slight to him. Across the board, mayor, city council president, comptroller, all of the top dog positions. So what good, as I note in this book about the political economy, the interrelationship of politics and economics, what difference has it made?
Obviously, it makes very little difference because things have not changed. And I've often criticized our political leaders for not doing just that. But I could rarely get folks to stand with me, other than you and in Baltimore City, Tamar Brown, to stand with me for fear of retaliation. When I say retaliation, you ain't got nothing now. So what are they going to retaliate against? Folks won't stand with us, Donnie. They won't stand with us. There's no unity. There's no unity at all.
And it's also fear.
Fear.
Are you afraid?
At age 70, nah, not at all.
You live up there by Lamel. I can't imagine anybody that lives close to Lamel living with fear. I went to Lamel. That was a training ground for fear. You're gonna be afraid, but you're gonna fight the day, buddy. And you better have something, because you got to fight.
Donnie, quietly, I go up against big corporations, not so much government anymore, but big corporations daily. At least 2 or 3 clients a week complain that Wayne, such and such has mistreated me, such and such has not paid me. And so it's my duty to attempt to change that, to get them treated fairly and to get them paid. And it's happening all too frequently. Here's the other thing. Now I'm discovering that the Hispanic contractors, which if we did not have the Hispanic contractors, at least in the DMV, I don't know about the rest of the country, but I know in this region, I know down in Florida, and I know in Georgia, we did not have this Hispanic contract, this country would fail. It would fail. As much as I love my people, it would fail. And now they're being mistreated, not paid, spooked, called out their names, threatened, whatever. Now they're beginning to feel the burden of their success.
So do you see Black and Latinos working together in this fight? Now, let me put it out there. I got an email notification about Black people coming to the assistance of the Latino woman that Wes Moore wanted to put on the stadium authority.
Donnie, she bankrupt like Trump. She had
Well,
Three
I
of
saw
them.
Anthony McCarthy have a rally for this woman at a black restaurant. Now, I understand he used to work for her. Anthony McCarthy, a black man, is out there advocating for the stuff. I guess he used to work for her. He works for her. I'm just asking this one question. Do they come to our assistance when we are in trouble?
No.
Well, damn.
Never.
What I don't like, like on Facebook, say a bomb goes off in Paris or a bomb goes off in Belgium. Black people are the first ones, or something happens in Ukraine. Black people are the first one to change their profile picture. We support Ukraine. We support this place. We support, and it's like, damn, when is the social media going to do a thing? We support our damn selves. We support Belgium. Don't know about what King Leopold did in the Congo, the black people for rubber, cut off tribes of people's right forearm or tribes of people's left forearm or tribes of people's left foot, children included. We are so absent from the historical perspective, Mr. Frazier. It is so frustrating to me.
Well, Donnie, we just lost people.
No, we're not. Because if that were the case, there would be no Maryland Washington Minority Companies Association.
We are exceptional as a rule. But as a people, we got a long way to go, baby. A long way to go.
I don't understand. God has given us Dr. Martin Luther King. God has given us the likes of Malcolm X and Medgar Evers. He's given us fighters on the inside, like Congressman Perrin J. Mitchell. Clarence Mitchell III comes to mind. C4 comes to mind. People who could think differently. People who could even vote for a Republican. Because the truth be told, in a 9-1 Democratic city like Baltimore, Democrats have not been our friends.
Well, Donnie, I don't really want to get into that. Let's move on. It's just embarrassing the way our leadership has responded.
The Republicans did more on North Avenue than Democrats. On North Avenue, in between my house and your house, is North Avenue. Now, I'm wondering where I see Democratic work. Matter of fact, I see us marginalized.
It's pretty
What
bad.
in the hell in this? And then the election will come, and they'll push signs straight up Liberty Heights that says, vote for the Democrats.
That was one person who did that. That was Mr. Gibson, Larry Gibson. That was his brainchild, vote for the Democrats. But
you will not keep getting my vote, and you treating me like a side piece. You treating my people like we're an option. Tell me about Robert Lee Clay.
One of a kind. I first met Robert Lee Clay in 1985 when I joined the Harbor Bank of Maryland as a chief loan officer. And at that time, Robert Lee Clay, he earned us the most money in a single transaction by borrowing $300,000. And the board, we can't make that loan. He said, well, I'll come in and I'll put collateral up value $600,000. We did the deal. He paid the loan off in 30 days. I said, why don't you keep it out a little longer so we can earn a little bit more money? He said, no, I got the money now. As a contractor, I got to pay it off. That's the Robert Lee Clay that I know. And he helped so many brothers out here with their own issues. He was.
One thing I liked about him? The last time he hired me, I hear this knock at the door on a Monday morning. I'm like, this sound like my daddy, the police, or somebody who ain't scared. It was Robert Lee Clay. So here's your money, sir. He paid me, he hired me to do a gig, and he came to my door with my money. I love a person like that.
There you go. That's
In Baltimore. Because you know,
Clay.
people that chuck you out for a few little coins in Baltimore want to sit on your money and make interest off your money. I'm from North Avenue. You better give me my damn money.
Special guy.
What was special about him?
The fact that he came from very little economic prosperity. Sure, they were entrepreneurs in his family, but they were all scratching the surface. And he had the guts and the knowledge to go beyond just managing a trucking business, to establish in a full construction company where he actually demoed and he built things. And then he established a very popular nightclub where everyone in this town wanted to be. He was just that kind of guy. He was
32nd Street Plaza. Let's put it out there.
Yes. That was the place to be. Clay was just a special guy.
Fearless, like Arnold Jolivet, fearless. I remember meetings he would hold out Caton Avenue. Remember the meeting spot out Caton Avenue, the hotel, motel?
At Pargo's.
And he was such an organizer. Hey, I need you to come to this meeting. Hey, I need that. And then you get in there, down there in the hole, and everybody's down there. What was he trying to do?
He was creating prosperity for his own folk. And as again, he would help lots of people that I know. He would lend them money, and money is the source of all prosperity. And he was on a handshake, and he would help folks out. And then if you needed his help, let's say in a hearing, a public hearing or whatever, he would be there in full support of you. And again, as I said, at Harbor Bank, he kept his money. I don't know if he had all of his money with us, but he kept a good sum. I can tell you this, it was over that legal FDIC insurance limit. So he didn't have a fear of us failing at that particular time and not him get all that money back. So that's the kind of guy that Robert Clay was.
And he was a hell of a political campaigner. I remember he was supporting that girl, Jill Carter, and signs went up all over Baltimore overnight.
And he was
everywhere. It was like,
and I've noticed a lot of them he would put up, not just the people that he would send out, but he would be out there himself on a Sunday morning putting those signs up. Yes, Robert Clay. So Donnie, can we move on and talk about a few other things?
Sure.
So you mentioned our spring breakfast is coming up on May 12th at Martin's West, and this will be our 20th anniversary. And we're so pleased that that the enthusiasm is stronger now than it was when we established it 20 years ago. Believe it or not, we started out at Morgan State University, and then we moved it to the Forum, and then the demand got so great we had to move it from the Forum to Martin's West. Folks criticized us for moving it from the Forum, but clearly the Forum couldn't handle thousands of people, and that's what it's turned into. It's it's just a love fest of inclusion. And this year we have some luminaries that we're honoring, and one of the largest ones is Robert Harrington of R.E. Harrington and Plumbing and Heating, and Mr. David Bramble of MCD. Two strong brothers who are doing a lot in this town to with Harrington doing all of the underground construction, and with Bramble, I mean, he's our savior. He's going to revise or reinvigorate the Harbor Place, and up on Eastern Avenue near Johns Hopkins, Bayview, one should see that development up there. It's called, I think, Yard 56, and it's an old factory, and he's pimped it out. I mean, the guy is just phenomenal. And so those are two of our luminaries. Also, Chris Lundy from the mayor's office of Minority and Women Business Development. And with Chris Lundy, what's so important about him, he convinced the mayor and the city council, no, the mayor and the board of estimates to bar a company for not treating us properly, for not paying us. There's multiple counts. And Chris said, hey, we're fed up with this. We're going to seek a disbarment so that you won't do work with us for at least 2 years. And then when you come back, we're going to think twice about it. He's one of the luminaries. And then we have another sister from the state of Maryland, Sabrina Bass. She used to be a procurement officer up at Coppin, but now she's head of the minority business certification at MDOT, the state of Maryland.
You know, she was up there at Coppin at a time when Marvelous Marvin Doc Cheatham was going after Coppin, and I tried to explain to Doc Cheatham that Sabrina Bass was there, and she was making sure that everything was copacetic. So as he's throwing these Molotov cocktails over at Coppin State, you're throwing them at the wrong person, Mr. Doc Cheatham. You're throwing them at Sabrina Bass when she's on our team. Plus her husband, Mr. Cornell Bass, you don't want him to meet you out back because he go up in that trunk. I ain't responsible for what happened to you, Doc Cheatham. This ain't the one. This ain't that regular fight. This ain't no punk. This you're gonna have to fight your way out of this one. Sabrina Bass is a very dear lady, and we've recognized her with a Black Wall Street Award, and I'm glad she's getting up on your big stage.
Yes, she's a blessing. In addition, we're recognizing Amazon. Amazon has come on like gangbusters in the last couple of years. If you recall, they hired our good buddy Damon Hughes, who passed recently. But they have single-handedly, they're changing on the corporate level this term of, what is it called? ESG, environmental, social, and governance, with this whole inclusionary practice in their new facilities. They're reaching out and bringing in folks who can do business with them, and principally African Americans. That's Amazon. And then we have Dina Joyce, Baltimore City, single-handedly. She, Donnie, has recommended to the mayor, she works for the Department of Public Works, and she recommended to the mayor what we've all been asking for years, and that's to debundle these major public work contracts, going from $5 million down to sizable $250,000 contracts, $500,000 contracts, $1 million contract. So our African American tradesmen can get engaged, because right now all they can do is serve as a sub, and subs get screwed when payment time comes. Dina has recommended, and our beloved mayor, Brandon Scott.
See, that's what I love about a Marion Barry. That's what I also love about a Maynard Jackson. He said, hold up. I put you in position, and I told you that I needed XY percentage to go to black business. Did you not hear me? They didn't hear me. Hey, Hartsfield, before you finish, Bill, cut the water off out there at Hartsfield International Airport. Ain't gonna be no damn airport. If you don't take care of Herman J. Russell in Atlanta, ain't gonna be no business. Marion Barry, Donahue Peoples, put him on. Put him on. Bob Johnson, even though I don't know what the hell BET is about these days, but put Bob Johnson on. Make black millionaires and billionaires. That's your job. We don't get it today, man. We got politicians about as strong as a noodle and chicken noodle soup, just weak, flimsy. Hey, Wayne, you remember they had House Bill 1150 that would have made white males in Western Maryland a minority? You remember black people in the Maryland General Assembly were pushing this most idiotic bill ever in the history of black people? They want to make white males in Western Maryland a minority because of some other deal. How dumb can we get?
Yeah,
I mean, just dumber than dumb.
That's pretty bad.
You know, we leaned on it. It was a cat from Baltimore and another cat from Prince George's County. I'm not going to bust their head today because one had gone and left us. But I remember that fight like yesterday, and they got kicked out of office because of it.
Yeah, well, sometimes we lose the perspective of what we're there for.
Mr. Frazier, sometimes we have the intellectual capacity of a dyslexic snail on a bag of fentanyl laced with Ritalin. How dumb can we get?
So moving on.
I mean, common sense just ain't that common. And then we run around, I'm Delegate so-and-so, I'm Senator so-and-so. You ain't nothing, chump. Okay, all right, thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
Now, it's a major decision that's coming out of the Supreme Court in May or June, probably June.
What's that, Donald Trump getting locked up?
Well, that would be the best ever.
Did you see this fool on TV with a baseball bat inciting a riot if he gets arrested? Did you see that?
Yes, Sonny. I think
what a sucker.
All of America has viewed that clip.
What a sucker.
Well, you remember they got 75 million people that voted for him. And that's the frightening part. But the Supreme Court this June will rule on something that's very major and has potential negative effects on the MBE program across America. And that is, there were two Asian lawsuits. I think one was in Texas, and I can't remember the other state, that sued the Harvard University for their testing and college admissions, and that they claim that because of the affirmative action that they were allowing Black students in and not Asians, and Asians were scoring higher on their tests, their admission tests, that it was discriminatory. Now, it's made it to the Supreme Court. They heard their arguments back in the fall, and they're supposed to render their decision in May or June of this year. And what would happen, and the affirmative action has been around since, I think his name was Abaki in 1976, that started all of this DBE and this set aside and this hiring preferences and so forth to allow African Americans to be a part of it, principally African Americans. Now you got everybody else, but principally African Americans. And if they decide to overturn that decision, what it means, not this year, but next year, perhaps the year after, the whole minority business program will be subject to being overturned on a federal standard. Because if they can win on that level, they can win on the level that there's no need to have these programs with these goal-oriented programs any longer. And that's
Let me just give you this on Bakke. The U.S. Supreme Court in affirmative action, the cases of Bakke, Weber, and Fully Love. And I'm going off of the Journal of American Studies. If reports are to be believed, waiting for Bakke was the main preoccupation of the Washington Press Corps in the spring of '78. The case had been argued before the U.S. Supreme Court in a blaze of publicity While the 9 judges were considering the arguments, there was no shortage of commentators to advise the court. As one of these advisors, Ronald Dworkin, noted, no lawsuit has ever been more widely watched or more thoroughly debated in the national and international press before the court's decision. Thus, when Mr. Justice Powell began to read the opinion of the court in Regents of the University of California versus Bakke, a hush enveloped the room. The audience was hushed but expectant because it is believed it was about to be a witness to a judgment of momentous historical importance. The pre-decision coverage suggested that the court was either going to give or deny its constitutional imprimatur to the principle of affirmative action or preferential treatment. You know, all of that came about because black people were showing that we were sick of y'all, sick of white America killing Dr. King, Malcolm X. We had the riots. We had the Black Panthers. We had to fight. That's why they started giving up stuff. Okay.
Well, now with the Trump rigged court, we stand to lose a whole lot of the privileges that we had, that we've enjoyed over the last 20, 30, 50 years.
Is diversity, equity, inclusion a joke? Is it just modern day way of saying racism?
Sure.
Why do we clean it up? What's all this DEIA and, you know, all of these damn buzzwords? It's like you either help black people or you don't.
That's right.
Are you a racist or not?
Well, let me tell you about one company that in this region that is doing the best, and that is BGE, Baltimore Gas and Electric.
Get out of here, Mr. Frazier. They all in the news, man. They got our underground utilities that the mayor sold to them, and the city council president and the comptroller said, hell to the no. You shoved this down our throats. They said BG&E hired Calvin Butler with the main assignment of getting control of the underground utilities, something that the voters of Baltimore City voted overwhelmingly against.
Well, that's not necessarily true. BGE does not own it. They entered into a lease, a 5-year lease, to operate it, to in essence enhance the system. The city has been doing it, but BGE will continue to do it, and at the same time, and in my belief, will do a better job. And any work that's being done there, any other contractors that are coming in to utilize it, Baltimore City has to approve that. So it's not like they own it and then they
have to approve it. And what does that mean for black people? So you already got one hand in our pocket. Now you got another hand in our pocket. Seems to me that you just took our money. Mr. Frazier, you ever had to go to school and meet the bully on the corner? Now, I know you're a tall guy, but there's somebody taller than you. And imagine this person taller than you and bigger than you, and he got 3, 4, 5 bigger people behind him waiting on Wayne Frazier every morning at the bus stop. Now, you either got to give up that money or you got to fight.
Right.
They've been taking our money, man.
Well, Donnie, I look at it this way. Since you mentioned Calvin Butler's name, since Calvin Butler came to town in 2012, he has created a culture at BGE that has spread throughout corporate Baltimore, principally Johns Hopkins University.
That's the one that Damon Hughes was working at, but Damon Hughes left there because he found Johns Hopkins was a little too slow. They were a little sluggish. They were like what do they call it, a sloth? They were moving real slow, real slow.
Donnie, but prior to that, they weren't doing anything at all. So that's a plus. But MMT Bank, Johns Hopkins, Whiting Turner Contracting Company. And you know
You
Whiting
know
Turner.
what I'm mad at Hopkins? I went to Dunbar. When I came out of Dunbar in '83, you could park in the 1400 block of Orleans Street, no problem. Now they got meters up there. It's like, damn, what don't you people at Hopkins want? Damn, you got to pay to go into Dunbar. And then, like when school let out, they got police right there in the middle of Caroline Street that let the people coming out of Hopkins come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Now Dunbar can go. Come on, 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 Hopkins. Now Dunbar can go. It's like, hold up. There's no equity. These people don't know equity. Going back to Vivian Thomas and Dr. David Blaylock and Blue Baby Syndrome. And then they treat us bad and we treat each other worse.
Well, that's not the Johns Hopkins that I know.
What? They stole Henrietta Lacks's money. Come on now. Don't make me get the grandson.
No. I agree. That is the historical perspective of Johns Hopkins. But let's bring it forward. The Johns Hopkins that I know now opens up opportunities for principally African
My
Americans.
grandma said, don't fall asleep in East Baltimore. Your ass gonna end up in an experiment. So I don't know what Johns Hopkins you talking about, but they ain't the pretty one my grandma warned people about in 1950 and 73 years later. I'm gonna shut up though. I'm gonna fall back. You go ahead.
They are my healthcare provider, and I think they do an excellent job for me. But when it comes to this inclusionary practices, I agree. Damon Hughes was cut short there because he was doing a tremendous job in opening up opportunities for principally, again, African Americans.
Have you ever been in the Johns Hopkins Hospital? They follow you around like you in an expensive department store, like you gonna steal something. They have black people following you. They real slick with it. They got some old plantation stuff. They get black people, just like when I worked at Banana Republic. That's why I couldn't work there. They said, you got to follow black people around the store. Huh? I'm not doing that.
Well,
matter of fact,
let's move on from John Tower. I was just giving an example of the largeness of Calvin Butler when you mentioned his name coming into BGE. Now, since then,
is that supposed to make me feel more comfortable?
Well,
we got to hold it standing up. I don't care who he is. I don't care where they from. The bar needs to be very, very high. All of these people, they run for mayor, they run for Congress. Matter of fact, we got an election next year. You know, they want to be in charge. Damn it, we need I want to see some Marion Barry type people. You see what Marion Barry told that last lady reporter, one of his last interviews. Mr. Mayor, you had parking tickets. You're like, let it go find something else to do. Come over here messing with me about this foolishness. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that one, Donnie.
That little white girl went messing them with him, carrying questions. And he said, lady, come on, go do something. Get out of here. Messing with Marion Barry. There wouldn't be no Prince George's County if it weren't for Marion Barry. Okay.
So,
see, we wanted Barack Obama to have one of those black moments.
Well,
just wake up one day and everything Malcolm X. Just paint the White House black.
Well,
they painted purple, they painted pink, they painted rainbow, painted black.
Well, he had an opportunity his first 2 years, unlike no other president prior. He had the Congress, he had the Senate, and he had a willingness to change things, and he was afraid to do it.
Donald Trump got a baseball bat. He is showing us what he planned to do. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You hit me with that bat, we're going to have a serious problem. You're not going to hit me with that bat. I went to James Mosier baseball. That bat would hurt, and they got expensive bats now, $400 for a bat. Hit me with that bat.
And I want to end on this, Donnie. Wes Moore, our governor. Although I did not support him.
Who you support?
I said I did not support him back then during the general election. However, what he's done by coming in And his first Board of Public Works meeting, he laid the law that he was not going to accept the mediocrity of the past and that he was going to seek tougher compliance. And I'm with him on all of that level. And I just pray that he has the strength enough to follow that through. Because if he does, we'll see wealth created unlike never seen before.
Okay, what's up with Herman Taylor? How could he give an event that no black people, that wasn't publicized, and he's supposed to be representing black people? Was he representing black people, or was he representing himself?
Well,
I couldn't let you out of here without asking you at least one, up in your face question. What the hell was that? MBE night in Annapolis. I thought it was supposed to be about us, just like Barack Obama. It was supposed to be about us, but he wasn't a supporter of Westmore. And, you only got a couple minutes. I ain't going to leave you here long in Uncomfortableville. But what the hell was that? Okay, that says everything.
I know his heart was in the good, in the right place, in bringing them all together. Herman's heart was in the right place, and
in the line in the bank. Okay, so when is your breakfast, Mr. Frazier?
It's Friday, May 12th at Martin's West, and we have tickets on sale, but like last year, they're going fast, and we anticipate a sellout within the next week or so.
I love seeing I met the young tractor trailers, the sisters that own the tractor trailer.
Yes.
I was very, very proud to meet them. A company starting off at the very beginning. They're learning the MBE game, and they're navigating. Matter of fact, I also saw the president of Coppin.
Yes.
Come out.
Dr. Jenkins.
Yeah.
He's a solid brother. And I hope that he'll join us again this year. But we will be announcing our keynote speaker this Friday. Our MC is a lady by the name of Allison Williams at Stanley Black & Decker. She is a fine sister and president of Stanley Black & Decker. And Stanley Black & Decker is
fine sisters. I'm gonna help you get in the house tonight. You might want to mention the real fine sister involved with Maryland Washington Minority Companies Association, because I do want you to eat tonight. Who is the real fine sister?
My wife, Patricia Frazier, who is a Jim, and she too came up in the commercial and mortgage banking system, so she understands business extremely well. And I can say here and now, if it were not for her, I would not be in business today. I would have failed. Why? Because I'm not a good detailed kind of guy. And she came in and she took care of that. She handled all of the employees, made sure our taxes were paid, the whole 9 yards. She is
your website gets more attention, I imagine, than the state of Maryland's when it comes to minority business.
Well, we do get quite, and I'm very proud of it. And she created that as well, Donnie. Thank you. She created that in 2006. And it is in the #1 website for minority business in America. And I generally say the world because no other country has minority business like America.
Well, because worldwide we're not a minority. But on that note, can we ever expect collaboration with Africa, Bitcoin, blockchain, all of these things? We talk about investments, we talk about technology. We know that Africa is the future. Will there ever be any synergy between Africans and African Americans, you think?
More than likely not. It's different cultures.
And then you got European hands in the middle of it too.
Now you got Chinese hands in the middle of it as well.
So who do we trust, the Chinese or the Europeans?
I don't know, Donnie.
Neither one of them. We got to trust ourselves. We got to build trust among ourselves first.
That's right.
I was in Africa China's building roads, 13 police stations, 13 Chinese police stations in South Africa. Taking selling your damn birthright to a whole other level.
Yeah, it's frightening. But they need help. The countries in Africa need help. And it's just unfortunate that they're not strong enough to gain that help. And really, when you think about it, as far as independence go, they're only celebrating like 60 years in most Nigeria. I think it's 60 years now. So they were under colonial rule for forever, for at least in modern times. So
Africa is still the breadbasket of the world. Still the breadbasket of the world. We need to, if we don't connect there, then who will? We are the modern day Josephs. We were sold into slavery by our brethren, but we've gone back to be able to help provide opportunities and that no one else will do from a genuine perspective. They welcome us. They welcome us back in Kenya. They welcome us back in Ghana. Other people have dual citizenship, and we should too. Any final thoughts, Mr. Wayne Frazier, president of the Maryland-Washington Minority Companies Association?
Yes, Donnie, we appreciate you. You are a treasure. Just the mentioning of your name often causes people to rethink their decisions. And so I am a fan of Donnie Glover, Donnie Morton Glover, my man.
We like one of them bull mastiffs, one of them cane corsos. When you need a big dog, we just want them to play fair.
That's all.
And Mr. Frazier, you know that we will pose the question to anybody, the president of the University of Maryland, the president of the United States. There's no fear here. We're from North Avenue. There's no fear. Take a tough man to walk across North Avenue, east and west.
It does. My man.
No fear.
No fear.
Arnold Jolivet, no fear. Robert Lee Clay, no fear.
Yes, indeed. Now,
you know what they told me? They said a scared man can't gamble and a weak man can't work. Love you, Mr. Frazier.
Take care, brother.
And good morning to you.
All right.
Good morning, world.